Good morning. Are we all ready? Oh, you guys got super quiet. You're just like, hurry your ass up, Steph. Okay, are we all good? Then we're recording. I think we're having an issue with Joanne trying to get in. Okay, here we go. Okay, how are we? Ready? Woo! All right, as we're letting people in, so and so forth. I just want to make sure. I'm not talking. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right, let's go. We can get started. Okay, awesome. So happy, what is it today? Is Tuesday. Tuesday the 13th. We're like already halfway through September. What the hell is happening, right? Okay, this always happens. Hold on a sec, guys. I'm trying to get my music off. Okay. Sorry. There we go. How did all of a sudden become 10:05? Do we have other music on? Good grief, this is a challenge here. Okay, so we'll go back here, go back to screen share, share. All right, are you guys with me or are you guys all walking out on me? Okay. Here you go. You want me to record? It's already recording. Okay, let's start all over. How's everybody? All right. Yay. Okay, so I can't read the thing now. I don't want that screen. Oh, this really sucks. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this started. So we have our little motivation minute right here. So I have a couple things that I want to share because it's football season. Is anybody excited that it's football season or am I the only football fan in the room? Okay, so actually, Steve Sachs, come here. Oh, yep.
You gonna try and get me?
No, well, that's later.
Try to tackle me?
So right here, can you read that for us?
Work is a rubber ball, but if you drop it, it will bounce back. The other four balls, family, friends, health, integrity, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, it will be irrevocably scuffed, nicked, perhaps even shattered.
Ooh. That's kind of deep. What does that mean to you?
Thinking early. Just stay grounded with the things that you value the most.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. What do you guys think? Anybody want to add to that? You guys are really quiet this morning. Is it because we got off to a bumpy start? This is so weird. It is. Well, you know, we understand that we have to always be, what do you call it? Attentive, right, to all the areas in our life. And work is what you put into it. But two, our integrity, right, which is our reputation, is all we have. Right. And if we continue to chip at that, then that really permeates into other areas of our life. Right. And the same with so if we don't hold our integrity within our family, our health, and our friends, right, then that just continues to get tarnished, etc. So we always want to just be cognizant and be aware of our health, right? Because if we ignore our health too, then it ends up being it's that slight edge, right? So if we're not taking care of ourselves, then that is something that sometimes we can't recover from. So I know that was a little deep of a quote there, but really just be, just live a life of integrity and just do the best that you can, so on and so forth. But there's this other quote that I want to share with you that has to do with football. And I think football is so relatable to what we do, right? It's all about the mindset. So this one is a quote. It requires perseverance, self-denial, hard work, sacrifice, dedication, and respect for authority. I love this line. The most valuable player is the one who makes the most players valuable, right? The most valuable player is the one that makes the most players valuable. To do things you've never done before, guess what? You have to do things that you've never done before. Does that make sense? So winners never quit and quitters never win. It was interesting. I was in a spin class last week, and the instructor guy said, sometimes people have, they get scared to push their limits, whether it's in business, whether it's physical, so on and so forth. And this one quote that he said, he's like, okay, just try it before you doubt it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Because a lot of times when we start doubting, oh, I don't want to do that because, or I shouldn't do that because, right? We have all these things, but he said, just try it before you doubt it. So I've been kind of like, that stuck with me. And it's just, a guy teaching us in spin class, keeping us going. And I thought, wow, you never know where you're going to get those little different things, right? So there you have it. Oops, Kim Johnson wants to come in. All right, awesome. So of course, let's try. There we go. Chris Green.
Morning.
Come on down. So Chris Green with Beacons Moving. He is our breakfast sponsor for today. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hey, good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful and handsome real estate professionals. Look at all you. Beautiful. Thanks again for having us. Appreciate the relationship with the office. We go back years. I think we actually moved you guys in this office. I mean, I used to work with many for a long time, so I appreciate the relationship and letting us come back to network with you guys. I'm Chris. I'm a field sales agent with Beacons Moving Solutions. Beacons is pretty much your one-stop shop for all moving and storage related needs. We specialize in realtor referred moves. And what that means is we understand that sensitive nature, that sensitive handoff from one of your clients that you're referring to us to handle something with their household. We understand how important that is, that your jugular is exposed. And we take great care at protecting that move, making sure their move goes well. The details of the move are all ironed out. Beacon started in Los Angeles in 1936. We're one of the oldest companies that are in the country. We go back to horse and horse-drawn carriage back in the late 1800s. We service every kind of move, big houses, small apartments, full service, high-end budget clients that white glove, budget conscious low-end clients. So low-end's rough word, just budget conscious clients. We do local moving, long distance moving across state lines, everything moving, international moving, as we were discussing a minute ago with the gentleman from the property management company. We offer full service packing. Our team is trained, they're dressed nice, they care. It's a good company that cares a lot about the referrals that we get from you guys. I myself do walkthroughs on every single lead that we get. I go to the home, we inventory the furnishings, we go through some photographs so the customer understands how this all looks and feels so we can set really concrete pricing. We service all of Los Angeles and Ventura counties. Basically, I can service anywhere, even out of state, but primarily LA and Ventura counties is our wheelhouse. I circulated cards and pens, my cell number. Listen, put it in your phone under Mover Chris. Even if we don't get the business from you, it's always good to have a friend, commercial, residential, someone that you could reach out to for advice. I've been in the business for 13 years. I'm very knowledgeable. I'm very passionate, energetic about taking care of the customers. We look forward to future relationships, hopefully with you guys. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Have a good day, guys. Thank you. I'll leave a couple cards in the back. And
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Okay, so let's get through our announcements. I'm super excited for our guest speaker today. So excited. Okay, so we have birthdays, September birthdays. Wow, so that means a lot of people got a little frisky on New Year's. Right? Does that kind of work out that way? Like, let's bring in the new year. So, I embarrassed myself right there. Okay, so happy birthday to everybody. I know Philip Crispino his birthday is today. There's actually an SRAR expo. So Philip and the gang won't be here. Rich Pisani won't be here, etc. But really appreciate each and every one of you. So happy birthdays. And then look at all the anniversaries that the people that have been with us for a long time. Doug Schmidt's been with Keller Williams for 14 years. Wow. That's incredible. That speaks volumes, right? So happy anniversary to all of you. And then this is our, oops, we're on. So let's go like this. Our August closings. We had a good month in August. So congratulations to everyone that closed some deals. All right. And then, dude, right, your name's on it.
Dad. My office meeting.
I know, I think like this, I am never gonna talk at your meeting ever again. No, just busting you. Okay, so congratulations to everyone that had their closings in August. Still kicking ass and taking names. So congratulations to Mark and Laura Garbell on capping. They're now at 100%. I think he capped in this one deal. So that was pretty cool. It was over a $6 million transaction. So congratulations to Mark and Laura. Okay. Then we have Monica and Philip Crispino. Congratulations on capping. Now they're enjoying the 100%. Congratulations to you. And then Linda White. Yay, right, Linda. So she's excited. She has a few months of enjoying her 100%. Okay, so we want to welcome to the Keller Williams Calabasas family. Since our last time, we have McKenna right there. So make sure you say hello to McKenna. Welcome, welcome. He's been in the business a year, right? Yeah, almost a year, and it's already closed.
Same with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
already closed 5 transactions. So that's awesome. So congratulations to you. Great job. And then Nicholas. There he is. Welcome, welcome. So new license fee. So we're super excited that that you have joined us. So welcome, welcome. There's Paul Morris. Hey, are you gonna say? Oh no. He's like, ah.
Hey,
Hey. You gonna say hi to the gang.
oh, there they are. Now I can see them.
Okay.
Wow, you always pack the house. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see you.
I wish I could be there in person, and I'll make sure that the next time I am.
Yep, absolutely. We have some announcement for our September 27th. So we're making a little bit of changes on that particular day that I haven't shared with them yet, Paul. For the one thing. Okay, so
Awesome.
Let's go on. So I don't know, some of you know about, we have this annual. So Can you tell someone is super excited about what I'm getting ready to say? So we have our annual Ford Living Mexico trip. Right, so every October, we always go, kind of switch back and forth from Cancun to Cabo. So we have, so it's family, but if you have kids under 18, sorry, I can't go. This is an adult only trip, but it's just to go have fun, right? There's no agenda other than just going and getting to know. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about.
No Love Island stuff.
So anyway, we're going to the Rio Palace, Baja California, in Cabo. So Lisa had did amazing work. She just kept, her and Christine were just like, Stephanie, it's coming up pretty soon. I'm like, what do you mean October? It's like 2 or 3 months away. And I'm like, oh, it's a month and a half away. Okay, here we go. But anyway, so we're staying, so this is on the strip, basically this particular hotel, so we can walk to the office. Any of you been to Cabo before? So you know where I'm talking about. So instead of going, we usually go to Secrets, and so we decided to bring it in a little bit more, so we have more beachfront, all that good stuff. So it's $1,300-ish per person for double occupancy. This is all inclusive, transportation, the hotel, food, drinks, a little cocktail, and then airfare, the whole bit. So it's that price. So if you have single occupancy, it's $1,600 and change. The price had gone up like 20 bucks, I think, since we got quoted on this on last week. But $1,300 per person, double occupancy, $1,652. So if that's something you want to do, let me know as soon as possible. Would love to get at least 15 to 20 people to go.
Yeah, it needs to be booked like ASAP. Yeah, we don't keep going up in price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, guys, it's so fun. Last year we went to Cancun, but everything's taken care of. When you make that, everything, like your pickup from the airport, every single thing, you have to do nothing.
Yeah, that's it. It's super, super fun. So excited to continue our tradition. All right, so it's time for Doug Huberman. So excited. So he's going to tell you a little bit about his background, but he is the husband, can I say too? Of course. Of Denise Mark. A wealth of information. I can't wait for him to share everything with you. And the two of them together is just this magnificent powerhouse, and appreciate you both very much. So Doug, come on up.
I just need to understand how the remote works.
Yeah,
and
so
it'll
you
be
just
good.
have to click on the clicker every time you, hold on a sec. Hang on. Okay, hold on, I gotta get to your thing. Okay, so. Okay, so then we go slideshow from beginning. Okay, there you go.
Got it.
And I'll go put this up there like that. I'll hear you best, or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's
So
just
just-
click the mouse.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, well, you guys know who I am. You know how I'm affiliated. I've been making presentations, to this office for years, but obviously took a break during the pandemic. And the one thing I can tell you is the only reason I'm here is Denise, but not for the reason you might think, which is Lexington Property Management was founded because I have 2 other real estate companies. One is a commercial property management company. And while Denise and I were dating, 2 times, a property manager that she referred to a client tried to steal her listings. In other words, you send them over to the property manager to do the property management and the leasing. 3 years later, guess who's in daily contact with your client? They say, hey, I'm thinking about selling. And guess who pitches the listing? Well, in commercial, that would never, never, never happen, because where do we get our property management clients? Well, they're CBRE, Marcus and Millichap. Do you think I'm going to pitch a shopping center or an office building? Never. So in collaboration with Denise, we decided, why not have a residential property management company that's run like a commercial one? And so what this is we use the same techniques, policies, and procedures we do with commercial. But the other thing we do is the referring agent is in the property management agreement for 2 things. 1, recognized as the referring person, but 2, the owner gives us permission to provide the agent with ongoing information about the property and how it's going. including whether they intend to sell it or not. So we're very, very different because we're not agents who couldn't make it, who figured, well, I can get some cash flow by being a property manager. We actually do our own investment. So last month we sold an $18.2 million shopping center that we owned, as a collective group. We are refinancing right now a $70 million apartment complex in Atlanta. We are managing shopping centers, industrial complexes, and office buildings. And through Lexington, we're managing single family homes and multifamily. So that's kind of who we are and how we got to be here.
I grabbed it. Do you want me to just click it?
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll just say click.
Okay.
So my apologize. Okay, so what makes us different? I kind of talked about, so we can click again. All right. What makes us different is we're a B2B model. We're not out there trying to find owners that we can get properties from. We're relying on real estate agents, accountants, attorneys, business managers to entrust their clients to us. That makes us very, very different. So our source is different. We're not out reaching out to property owners saying, can we manage your property? The other thing is we're part of your team. Whoever refers us, we put them in the contract and we acknowledge that is your client. All right. So when we're managing a property and say the client says, hey, I need a real estate attorney. We don't whip out our Rolodex. We call the referring agent and we say, we've been requested to provide a real estate attorney. These are the ones that we like. Who would you like us to refer to your client? So it's a very, very different model. The other thing is we do a lot of thank yous, and I spent a lot of time so that I could become a Yelp elite reviewer. And I'm also a lead on Google now. And what that means is when I write a review, it's the very first thing that anybody sees who goes and looks at that company or that individual. And for realtors and those people who refer to business, that's big. That's the equivalent of print ads and buses, bus stops and everything else. The vast majority of the exposure people get now is on social media. So if you go to my site on Yelp, you'll see reviews of realtors, but you'll also see reviews of plumbers and restaurants, because to be elite, I have to review everything. I have over 400 reviews. But if we have a working relationship and we really work well together, then we'll make sure that the whole world knows how good you are. And in fact, if you go to Lexington, you won't even see my name mentioned because it's about the team and the company. It's not about the owner. So next. So this is the bottom line of why we were built the way we were. And it came, as I said, directly from the bad experiences Denise had when we were dating. All right. We build our business not by you referring us one client, but by over the years, you referring us client after client after client. If we can help you solidify your relationship with your client, then we know that our position is safe. Next. Okay, so we have some unique, what we call collaborative services that we're not aware of any other property management company providing. One, we will join you with your client to evaluate potential acquisitions of investment properties. Doesn't matter the product type. In other words, if you want to, we'll look at rent rolls, we'll look at leases. We'll help your client make a good investment decision. But we'll do so having met with you and understanding what your perspective on the asset is and what your client's objectives are, because you have a relationship with them we do not have. Yeah.
For syndication acquisitions or for resale and you got a sale also?
Yes. For example, the San Antonio property, we didn't broker the sale, right? But we were principals, but we also worked with that group when they acquired it so that they could understand how much upside there was. And I'll just share real quickly, that asset was 180,000 square foot power center. And it was bought out of, it was being foreclosed on a $10 million non-performing loan. It's 46% occupied. And it just closed for 18.2 at 94% occupied.
Your property management.
Well, we do asset management out of state. In fact, we do asset
Maximize
management.
maximize the return on that asset if the motivation was to sell in 48 months.
Correct. Whatever the motivation is, we help do that. And by the way, the third company that we have, asset management consulting services, we actually get hired by people like Smith and others to turn around their assets. And we do so on a consulting basis. So for me, making a silk purse out of a sow's ear is kind of my happy place. I like kind of being a Sherlock Holmes of real estate. We provide ADU analysis. And that's really, really important for residential agents because a lot of people are buying properties thinking, oh my gosh, I can just turn the garage into an ADU. I can add another 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I'll just be bathing in money no matter what the market does. Well, it's not that simple. And we'll actually sit down with you and your client to help them make intelligent decisions, because if they get burned on a deal, you make one commission. If they have a successful deal, then you get a series and you can cultivate an investment from, client. Due diligence support. Like I said, if they decide to go forward, we have the expertise. I've only been doing this for 31 years. So I almost have a feel for how this is supposed to work as far as income, expense, leases. By the way, like on retail, co-tenancy provisions can make or break a property or a project. Most people don't know about that, but I've been burned in the past. Real estate is common sense and experience. Everybody in here, by virtue of lasting, has proven they have both of those. But what we have it is on both the commercial and the residential side. And then, given that leasing is such a low return on time spent endeavor, and most of you are doing leasing as a favor for a client to maintain their relationship, we provide lease TC services, which means if you want, we'll vet the tenants, but we won't give the information to the owner. We'll give it to you to give to the owner. In other words, we'll draft the lease, but we won't give it to the owner, we'll give it to you. So we can be your back of house for leasing so that you don't spend hours and hours and hours on paperwork that's keeping you from going out and making a listing presentation. Okay, next. Okay, this is just the commercial aspects that we've brought to residential. 24/7 access to all documents online through lexingtonpmc.com. Financial segregation. We have clients who have, let's say, a dozen properties. Each property has its own trust account. That way there's no journal entries, and the bank statement and the operating statement agree to a penny every single time. The only difference is bank statement's chronological, income and expense statement is based on category. Electronic rent payment, you're not allowed to legally require it, but about 98% of our tenants pay electronically now. Preventative maintenance is the most important thing we do on the physical side of what we do. If you do those little things, the big things don't go wrong as often. But more importantly, if we send somebody notice that we're going to do an inspection, and give somebody 24-hour notice, one, they're pissed off, they feel like their privacy is being violated. But two, if there's a problem, they hide it. They can get those 19 other relatives or unauthorized pets or whatever is going on out of the way. Our maintenance department calls and says, we're going to be out to change the air conditioning filters. That's background noise. They don't even think about it. Every preventative maintenance call we make is an inspection. And it allows us to see what's really going on. And when we catch things, I guarantee you it's not because the owner says I want an inspection. We never, ever, ever catch anything. We catch it when we do our preventative maintenance. Credit reporting, we can't do it because of COVID right now, but as soon as the COVID restrictions are off, we credit report. And why is that so important? Right? Under normal non-COVID world, right? If you don't pay your credit card, you get a ding. Right? You don't make your car payment, you get a ding. You don't pay your rent, you get an angry phone call. So who's going to be your short-term lender? It's going to be your landlord. So by us credit reporting, now all of a sudden it's just as important for the tenant to pay their rent as it is to make their credit card and their car payments. Okay, next. So this is the big deal about the second part. So we can go to the next one slide. Yeah, click again. All right. Owner was referred to property manager by. You're right there. But more importantly, one more click. Owner. Okay, render monthly statements, year-end statements, receipts, expenses, blah, 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 following professionals in addition to the referring real estate professional. Unless the owner strikes it out, the default is we're legally allowed to give you all the information on the operation of the property. That way, when you call your client, you're not calling them and just saying, hey, I want to know, hey, how are things going with your rental properties? No, you can call them up and say, hey, I know your tenant's coming up in 2 months. Here's the comps for rent and here's the comps for sale. Where do you want to go with this asset? Now, when you call, you're not just somebody that they know is doing a touch base call. You're somebody who is knowledgeable and concerned specifically about their investment properties. And if they are of a mind to build their portfolio, who are they going to have do it? It's going to be you. Next. We advertise on the internet like crazy on anything that we're listing for rental. Remember, we don't list for sale ever. And the reason is that's where everybody sees everything. And of course, you guys know this, professional photography is everything in today's world. Next. Okay, we have a portal. And guess what? As a realtor, since we're authorized to give you the information, if you want it, we can set you up so you can go in. You don't have to say, hey, Doug, what's going on? You can just log in and you can see if the tenant's paying the rent. You can see what kind of maintenance issues there are. It's you to do, like, I know you like to do, travel. So you can be in, what's that, Cabo San Lucas, right? And you can log in and see how the property's doing. So you can touch base with your owner. How impressed will they be if they know you're calling from Cabo because, the HVAC just failed, right? And you just want to see how they're doing and what they're thinking about. Okay, next.
Paul, did you have a question for Doug?
Hey, I did, and he was starting to answer it already, and I just want to make sure maybe he has answered it. So I love the ability to interact with the property that you've referred. That obviously has a lot of value to realtors. And like you said, with a web interface, you can log in from anywhere. Are there any outgoing communications from your firm to the realtor on major events? Like you said, oh, wow, hey, I'm in Cabo, I noticed your HVAC is out, but unless you happen to log on when the HVAC was out.
Right. The only time that we make a special effort to jump on the phone, it's so funny, I don't know where I'm talking to. I know you're in the cyberspace, Paul. Am I looking at you here or where?
Up there.
No, I mean, oh, that's where the camera is. Okay. So
There you go.
if the owner tells us that they are thinking about either selling the property or a family member moving in, or that they're gonna release it, we pick up the phone and call the agent immediately. Because that's something where, time may have passed, a year, 2 years, 3 years since this property was originally leased and referred to us. And they need to make sure that they pick up the phone and they are front of mind. Because we don't make the decision of who the owner is going to use, but we definitely make sure that the referring realtor makes first contact. And typically, if things have gone well and their first contact, they're going to get the listing.
Got it.
All right, next. Okay, so that's just how you can log into our website. Property management, just remember, it's physical management, it's financial management, and it's legal document management. And all of that information is right there for your client and you to review, as I said, 24/7 from anywhere. All right, next. Our next service, home management. We actually invented this. It's our industry, which is we manage homes for the owner. Like you have a wealthy client, they have some rental properties, they don't have some rental properties, but they're bi-coastal or they're super, super busy, right? If they have a water heater burst or an air conditioning fail, do you really want them calling the Yellow Pages to try to find a vendor? So what we do is in that case, we're not doing the financial management because we're not collecting rent, but we're physically taking care of the property for your client that they live in. So that's one of the things we do. And next.
Where geographically?
Well, it has to be something we can get to quickly. So, and that's based on where our employees live, not where our offices are. So right now we're all over the west side. We're as far north as Valencia, or San Gabriel, San Fernando Valley, Conejo Valley, Oxnard, Camarillo. And we actually, when we're interviewing to hire, one of the things we're really concerned about is where do you live? Because to do property management, you have to be able to respond on a timely basis. So like we're trying to right now to buy a property management company in the South Bay. Why? Because with traffic patterns, if there's no traffic, we can get to Torrance or we can get to Redondo Beach. If traffic is heavy, we just can't do it. So
Just in California?
for property management, asset management, we do nationally. So we've just finished properties in Atlanta, San Antonio, and Phoenix. And asset management is you are essentially a sit-in for the owner. You hire and fire the local leasing and property management. You help make all the strategic decisions. So, all right. And then this is something, back.
Sorry, let's go over here.
Okay, well, we don't need a slide. Another service that we've come up with that's unique to us is fractional estate management. When people have absolutely mammoth estates, they have a full-time staff, 7 days a week, right? But what if they just have one that's big enough to be unwieldy? And maybe they need somebody 4 hours a day, 3 times a week. Or they need somebody, 2 days a week, full-time. We will take somebody who is capable and prepared, educated on how to do that, and they can essentially timeshare. It's like timesharing a yacht or a private jet, but you do it with an estate manager. All right, so that's an overview of Lexington, who we are and what we do. Now, the next slide, Stephanie asked me to share a little about who I am and what my background is. So I got into real estate by a very circuitous route. I went to UC Irvine and had a big afro, and I decided, Annie's seen the pictures. And I apologize still for the scars that are emotional. And I decided I wanted to fly jets. All right, so I joined the Air Force, and I think the happiest people I've ever made in the whole wide world were barbers, because they kind of did a tic-tac-toe board with my hair, and then they laughed and they showed it to each other. So I joined the Air Force. I ended up being lucky enough to fly F-111. And I made Top Gun, which is different in the Air Force than the Navy. So I'm not Tom Cruise. I didn't go to the school called Top Gun. Top Gun in the Air Force is every wing has several squadrons. And the person who is the best person in the entire wing for a year is the Top Gun.
You did have a need for speed.
Pardon?
You should feel the need for speed, that's why.
Oh yeah, I felt the need for speed constantly, because the F-111 was the fastest airplane in the inventory other than the SR-71 in the history of the Air Force at low altitude. So we could do Mach 1.2 at sea level. And most of our time was spent hand flying 100 feet off the ground going 600 miles an hour. So you don't feel the thing. Other than when you're turning, when you're pulling G's, you feel it, but you don't feel the speed.
What's your call sign?
UV. Yeah, I know, it's short for Huberman. It's sad. I didn't have anything too exciting. But I learned a lot in the military. And one of the things I learned is how to be calm under stressful circumstances. And anybody who knows me personally knows that when things become
Shit show.
Thank you. Okay, when something, well, I didn't know if this is gonna be posted, on your website, but when things. Okay, yeah, when things go to hell in a handbasket, you have to, in the military, to stay alive, be emotionally detached. And you just have to focus on what needs to be done, right? So that's one of the things I learned. I almost killed myself twice. And in fighters, by the way, 90% of the deaths are self-inflicted. And so Stephanie wanted me to share something that's maybe not so sterling about myself. So one of the times I almost killed myself, we were, this is during the Cold War. So we had to fly wearing chemical warfare masks. It's just, you've seen the giant green masks, right? And I'm hand flying over the North Sea, 100 feet, 600 miles an hour. And all of a sudden across the lens, this little bug starts flying, just walking back and forth across the lens. And I'm trying to concentrate on the mission, And for a half a second, I forgot who I was, where I was, what I was doing. And I stuck my finger under the mask to get the bug. Problem is when you break the seal, poof, fog. So now I know I'm 100 feet over the ocean going 600 miles an hour and I can't see anything. All right, and that's why situational awareness is so important, whether you're flying airplanes or you're in the middle of a deal, you have to keep your eye on the ball. So that's one of the things that I learned. And by the way, all I did was I pulled back on the stick. I pulled the mask completely off and had the embarrassment of having to land without the mask on, because there's no way you're getting it back on by yourself. All right, so I didn't even get away with it. And the only other time I got more scrutiny was when I violated Swiss neutrality, and I'll save that for another time. So after being a Top Gun, I worked in NATO, then I went back to grad school and I became a professor of economics at both the US Air Force Academy and the University of Colorado, which brings us to, we can go to the next slide. Another thing I learned in the military is service. The three charities that I'm proudest about being involved with are the Colorado Ski School for the Blind, which I was a founder of, the Levitt Pavilion for the Performing Arts, which is the largest free concert series in the country, and the Diablo Veterans Program, which right now is considered to be the most successful program for dealing with veterans suffering from PTSD in the world. And again, that's a subject I'd love to go into more, but I know we want to get to the next slide, which is the world we're living in is really wonky right now, primarily because of inflation and the effect that's having on interest rates. So I wanted to spend a little time, put my professor of economics hat on. And the first thing I wanted to tell you is every single one of you is an economist. And why do I say that? Economics is nothing more than the study of human behavior when you have scarce resources. That's it. If there's not unlimited everything, you're dealing with economics. And for each and every one of you, that's what you're doing every single day, whether it's time, money, physical resources, you're dealing with scarcity and you're making prioritization decisions. So when you watch the news or somebody calling themselves an economist comes in to talk to you, know this, if what they say is contrary to your personal experience, it's wrong. And there's a term called political economy, which acknowledges that much of economics is politicized, right? But doesn't make that right. Economics, as opposed to political economics, agrees 100% with what you see and what you've experienced in your life. So what causes inflation? There's three major sources, and I'm not going to tell you what you should think. You need to know these relationships, decide for yourself what course we're on. Expansionary fiscal policy. What does that mean? The government is spending more money than it's taking in. That causes inflation. Expansionary monetary policy. Have you heard the term too much money chasing too few goods? How does that too much money get out there? It either gets out there by government fiscal programs, which we've seen a few during the pandemic, or the Fed, because the Fed controls three things that determine the money supply. Okay, interest rates. Well, they're setting interest rates. They've been at historic lows. Even with the increases that we've had, they're still lower than the norm. So that means, by the way, the math of economics and the math of physics are the same. Why? It's all vector analysis, right? There's some things pushing up, there's some things pushing down. You overcome gravity and friction, you can launch a rocket. If you don't, it falls back to Earth. The economy is the same thing. So we have, what do we have? An up or a down arrow on inflation from fiscal policy right now. The government's overspending. So that means it's causing inflation. Interest rates are still below the norm. Is that an up or a down arrow? Okay, that's an up arrow. The money supply directly, how does the Fed affect it? They buy bonds. When they buy bonds, they take somebody's bond and they give them cash. Okay, up until 3 months ago, the government was buying bonds like crazy. They're not selling bonds. Selling bonds would bring down the money supply. They just stopped buying. So right now that's neutral. It's an arrow this way, right? Bank reserve requirements. The Fed controls how much cash banks have to have on hand to cover unforeseen circumstances and to cover bad loans. You know what the reserve requirement is right now? Take a guess. What percent?
9%.
Okay, so one person was off by 9% and one person was off by 5%.
Zero.
It is zero. It's never been zero before. Why do you think the banks are holding onto their REO? They don't need the cash. So they're taking the ride, which is restricting the supply, which is affecting the price of real estate. All right, so all of these things, you know enough to watch the news, don't worry about their conclusions, see what's going on, and figure out what's going on with the economy. The other source of inflation can be supply shocks. What are supply shocks? Oh, things like the OPEC oil, right? What happened? Restriction of supply, price goes up, price of particularly energy is factored into the manufacturing of everything. So the prices of everything goes up. All right, so ask yourself, for each of these items, what are we doing? And that'll tell you how optimistic or pessimistic to be about inflation. All right, you don't need me to tell you that. Next slide. So the net effect of all of that is inflation goes up, interest rates go up. Because why is somebody going to give you money that you're going to pay back with money that's worth less than what they gave you? So interest rates invariably chase inflation. Not right away, but they go in that direction. All right. Residential real estate values, you've been in the business. Interest rates go up, values go what? Down. Interest rates go down, values go up. The adverse impact of increasing interest rates is worse. It's very destructive to people who have interest-only loans. Why? Because their payment is only the interest rate. There's not a principal component to it. And we'll look at it, but you need to know that if you have clients with old interest-only loans, you need to be talking to them about the fact that when they get their interest rate reset, they may not be able to afford their house. You need to get ahead of that. And that makes you a trusted advisor and someone who can help them position what they're going to do. All right. And just remember that the Fed controls interest rates and reserve requirements. And as a result, that affects the supply of housing, which right now the banks are sitting on it. If the reserve requirement goes back to its normally 2%, you will be amazed at how many REOs come to market. All right, next slide. I just wanted you guys to see real quickly what if you wanted to buy a $2 million house, right? And how much income you needed beginning of the year. You needed a $270,000 income, right? With interest rates at 6.5%, you need a $371,000 income. They go to 7.5%, you need a $400,000 income. So what you're seeing is if the houses stay the same value, less and less people can afford to buy them. All right, now let's go to the next slide, which shows if you have an income, let's say of 270,000, what can you afford to buy? Well, it depends on the 40%, 45%. So there's little fungibility of what you can afford, but the low interest rates we just had, right? With that income, you could afford a house of $1.7 million, right? At 7.5%, you can only afford a house of $1.3 million. So it's just two different sides of the same coin. But you'll notice that that's down, what, 31%. Now let's look at interest only. And this is why you need to really be concerned about your clients who have interest only loans, right? The $2 million house, they could buy it with $168,000 of income. But when they go to refinance, their income would need to be between $328,000 and $368,000 just to get the same size loan. Did their income increase by that much? All right, let's go to the next slide. Same thing, interest only. Interest only is really terrifying unless you're putting money away to make the principal payment, right? $250,000 income, you could have afforded a $2.8 million house. Now between $1.6 million and $1.4 million. This is real. This is what's happening right now. And you don't need an economist to tell you because you're all economists. And you never defer to somebody because of the title. I've never seen on CNN or Fox News, it's a so-and-so is a PhD economist at the Hoover Institute, and they've been right this percentage of the time when they've made projections. They never are held accountable for being wrong. You're the only person who can make sure that you're right. Okay, next. So that was the little primer on interest rates. And by the way, I also teach classes called, one of the classes I teach is economics for top performing realtors. So if you want to do a deep dive in any of this stuff, there's more room to dig deeper and look at these things closer. But I just want you to understand that what you're seeing and what you're experiencing is right on, and don't let anybody tell you different. Believe your own eyes, not what they're saying. All right. Question, because this affects a lot of our clients. Is an ADU for you? Next slide. Okay, a lot of people think they're a panacea. ADU is wonderful, do it no matter what. Other people believe that the cure is worse than the disease. All right, they were intended originally to affect as a cure for homelessness. Well, with the ADU policy, what's been happening to homelessness? Hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's gotten worse. All right, it's probably a zero-sum game, which just means the benefits are offset by the damage, and in most cases, it just doesn't make sense. The other thing is legal versus practical. Did you know every house in the Oaks right now, it would be legal to turn the garage into an ADU? They can't stop. Would that make any sense? Of course not. So just because it's legal doesn't mean you should do it. And if you want to understand ADUs, you need to understand parking requirements. Who's commercial here? Okay, so the commercial guys know this. If a city lowers its parking requirement for retail to 1 per 1,000, it's legal to have no parking, but how successful is the project going to be? Right, because it needs enough parking for customers to want to stop and go inside. They don't want to spend 20 minutes looking for a parking space. All right, so make sure you distinguish between what's legal and what makes sense. Next slide.
Hi, I'm sorry, excuse me. We're not from Zoom land. We're not able to see the slides that you're talking about. Is it possible to screen share that part as well, please?
I don't know how to do that, but Stephanie is nodding yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been texting with Louisa. I'm not sure why you guys aren't seeing.
Oh, okay.
The other thing is I've sent the slides to Stephanie, and if anybody wants it, she's has my permission to share them.
Okay, thank you
So
so
I
much.
can go, sorry, I'm not certain. Louisa and I are like, I don't know what to do because it's here, but I will share this, the slides with everybody else, send it out to the entire office for that. Sorry, Louise.
All good,
Sorry,
thank
Zoom
you.
land.
Okay, here's a case study, because this is a real weird project, one of my clients. All right. So this is their property. All right, and you can see they built an ADU. And it worked out really, really well. All right, why? Because it's a pie-shaped lot. They put a wall here. I don't know if you can see the wall. Let's go to the next slide so you can see this one closer. All right, so they put a wall here. So when you're in this backyard of the main house, you don't have a sense of the ADU. So they preserve the value of the main house and they added an ADU. Here's the problem. They got greedy. They turned the garage into an ADU too. Guess what? We can't lease any of it. There's just people who want to rent a nice house in the burbs don't want to have people crawling all over them front, side, and back. All right, so an ADU can be great, but there can be too much of a good thing.
There's no parking frontage either.
Right, well, and that's because, right, and so it worked well for the two because this was the garage for the main house and the ADU person parked here. Right? Yes, right here. Yeah, and you can see the big fence here. All right, and there's no, when you're in the backyard, you can sunbathe and the ADU people won't see you. So it was a great plan, but they got carried away with doing what's legal, not what makes sense. All right, so now they spent $100,000 to reduce their income. So that's why we offer the, we're willing to sit down with you and we're willing to sit down with your clients to make sure they make good decisions. Yes, sir.
Also, there's some great control implications.
That's true. Too many units and all of a sudden you're RSO if you're in LA. Absolutely. All right, next slide. So other considerations, a wide shallow lot is good for an ADU. A narrow deep lot is bad. Here, boom, ADU, works great.
Is it a 7-foot distance from the property line?
Every city's different. Some are 5 foot, some are 10 foot. So that's something that your architect needs to come up with. But remember, think wide and shallow if you're thinking ADU for you or your client. Next. Well, we're not to corner lot yet, but we are into the whole parking issue. This is, by the way, this is Upper Lake and Lower Lake right here at Lake Sherwood. And the only reason I'm sharing this is, let's see, where is it? Oh, yeah, we own this one right here. So this is something that we've been dealing with, but you look here, all right, there's a road here. And their lot line is here, they're built forward. So you could conceivably do a small ADU because you have access from a separate road. You would never want to come through this way. This one's built in the middle of the lot. No way you're ever doing an ADU that makes sense. You can do one, but you're just going to damage your property. This property here, and you can see there's an access drive here. So you can do that, and then you can have access from Upper Lake here. This is a good one. All right. Our property here, this access drive dead ends into our property, so we can do an ADU. This one here has a problem. The access drive ends right here. Doesn't matter where they are in the lot. No ADU ever makes sense. These people are built off center, but there's no access from this side. ADU won't work. All right, so again, ADU is not a panacea. You can make great money. You can have a hedge against the declining market, but you can also do something that actually damages you, your client, your relationship. They lose money on your advice. They're not coming back to you. All right, next. All right, corner lots. Who said corner lots before? Yeah, everything you've said has been right so far today. This is terrible. Corner lots are awesome. All right. I just said today. All right, corner lots are great if, and only if, it's not a street that's so fast that you can't put in a drive. You want to see here, forward built, you can put a drive here, you can have an ADU, they can still have a yard. That makes sense. You can see here, actually, these are horse facilities, but they could have been ADUs. Right? Corner lots have the potential to be great, but if one of the streets is Lindero, no, they're not going to let you put a driveway in, so it's not really a corner lot. Okay, next. The position on the lot we talked about. In the middle, no ADU. In the front, you have the potential to do it.
Alley access is also.
Yeah, valley access is the same as a little road. It's just you have a way to get in and out. Okay, next. So just some final thoughts, not about ADUs, but what do we charge for our services? Well, we do lots of different services. It's all fully disclosed on our website, but property management is a sliding scale. The higher the rent, the lower the percentage. We have rent control houses that rent for $1,000 a month in Hollywood. You know, our management fee is probably 20%, right? But we have homes that rent for $35,000 a month, and our management fee is 3.5%. You know, at $10,000 a month, we're probably at 5%. So, because it doesn't take 10 times as much to handle a property that rents for 10 times as much. So it's a sliding scale. I can't give you a number. Other things we charge for, project management. Last year we renovated, I think it was 17 kitchens and 22 bathrooms. Right? When we do that kind of work, that's not like fixing a stuck drain, then we get a project management fee. And again, it depends on how complicated the project is, but they're plus or minus 10% for doing that. The package, all right. We want to be an extension of your relationship with your client. All right, which means if you want, we'll go to meetings with you with your client to help pitch them, not on our services, but on whatever acquisitions, and they might need asset management. Like I said, you know, they have an asset that's driving them crazy in Denver. Guess what? I've done 6 or 7 projects in Denver. I know the market there and I can help them with it. But I am part of your team. And what we do is we're going to be very professional. We're going to show up with, you know, commercial quality materials, and we're going to make it very clear to them that we are part of the package that comes with you. Let's see how we work together. Like I said, we can work together with you in concert. You can hand your client over, but you will be in our contract. And unless your client exits it out, which happens maybe 5% of the time, you'll have complete access to the ongoing information about them. So I think that's my spiel. Next slide. Any other questions? Yes.
So as it pertains to apartment buildings, does the sliding scale on the fee also
No.
apply?
No,
Okay,
that's 5%.
5% straight.
Yeah, yeah. Apartment built, but by the way, if somebody owns several single family homes, we add them all together to come up with a percentage.
Okay.
But the brain damage that comes with apartments and the dealing with Section 8 and everything else, it just really can't be a quantity discount.
And then, so one of the things that we're seeing right now in the buildings we're selling is, I would say that 80% of the buyers, if it's in LA, are lease buyout buyers, cash for keys
Mhm.
buyers on rent control units. There's a lot of clients out there that would be buying right now if LA City wasn't still how it's been with rent control.
Yeah.
And their biggest thing when I pitch them the deal is, ooh, I would totally buy this. There's so much upside, but I don't think I could get to it. And I go, well, hey, look, so-and-so client, he said the same thing, and he's gotten really good at lease buyouts and cash for keys. And they've been on a tear, and they're killing it right now because they're either refining afterwards. They usually go bridge that in,
Mhm.
and then they refi and hold, or they sell. And they're going through several buildings here, and they're like, wow, that sounds great. I just don't know how to do lease buyouts, or I'm not comfortable with lease buyouts or cash for keys. And
Yeah, and by the way, we just went through, gosh, there's 4 or 5 properties in, and by the way, if you're one of our referring agents, we'll do stuff that we wouldn't normally do. So, like we worked with Stephanie Bataco and Scott Nell, that they, I don't know where Scott Nell is, but that used to be the Sherman Oaks office, I think. Yeah, he's at the, but so Scott got a portfolio of multifamily in Long Beach. And we actually managed it for sale.
Got it.
In other, we actually managed it and
knowing it was gonna turn.
knowing it was going to turn, we
Right.
charge higher fees, obviously, because it's a dead end for us. But it cements our relate, just like you do stuff you don't want to do to cement a relationship.
Right.
We do the same. And in 2 of those buildings, we had to negotiate lease buyouts during escrow.
Okay, wow, that's awesome. So that's the service you guys offer. You have people that are good at it.
Yeah.
Because it is like an art almost.
Yeah.
More than.
And the
anything.
most important thing is eye-to-eye contact.
Right.
You have to meet the people. You're not going to do it over the phone.
Especially because they can essentially change their mind at any point.
Exactly. Until it's inked, you got nothing.
Okay, and then the other big thing right now is, what, and you touched on it earlier on the residential side, which is debt management. Like debt management's a real thing nowadays, like especially in the commercial side, multifamily, because you're looking at maybe 3, 5, 7-year fixed terms. And if these people have kind of checked out right now, it's a big deal, you know? So do you guys have a system in place on that end where it's like, hey, reminder, like,
Yeah, no, I mean, we're doing what I just told all of you to do, which is we're talking to our clients about what kind of debt do you have? When does it come due? Are you, like multifamily, you paid a 4 1/8 cap and and you had positive leverage, but now you're gonna have negative leverage.
right?
So
Yeah,
what are
it's
you gonna
like
do?
Almost all that upside they created is now potentially wiped clean
Right,
if they don't either sell or.
yeah, so you have to be on that. That's not something you can just sit back and wait till it happens. We actually have a client right now on Riverside Drive in Sherman Oaks that's in that situation.
Sure.
And we actually found a charitable, by the way, if you ever need bridge loans, charitable foundations are really good sources because they're not out there to make a huge profit. They are required by federal law to give away 5% of their net worth per year. So if their money's sitting in the bank, they're actually becoming a smaller and smaller foundation every year. So we actually work with several foundations and they have about 1.5% of operating, expenses. So if they can get 6.5% or 7%, they're breaking even with what they're giving away and they're happy. So that's what we're helping is get that client an interest only short-term loan, but way lower, like not 4 or 5, like 1, 2.
Yeah, I'd love to get some referrals or recommendations, some charitable organizations as well.
That's why we're allowed to talk after me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
What do you ever, as part of building a relationship, contract out your cash for key service?
No, that's not something, but again, we came up with lease TC because we had agents saying, look, I really want to do the leasing for my relationship with my client, even though I don't want to do it. But I don't want to have to do the paperwork and the tenant screening and all that. So you find somebody who has a service, if we think we can make a pencil, you can see we don't hesitate to start a new business model.
Sweet.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, the only other thing is if you want to know what it's like to work with us, Rachel just leased on Peacock, one of our properties. So she has firsthand experience, and I didn't even have a chance for her to tell me what she thought of working with us, but she can definitely give you her opinion. And again, several people in here have referred us clients, so please feel free to talk to each other and shoot straight. We're not perfect. If you look at our Yelp reviews, you'll see we have 5-star ratings from both tenants and from landlords. And that's a really important thing because we're in that middle ground where we have to try to make everybody happy. But occasionally we have to be the purveyor of bad news, and that gets us a bad review, and that's okay. So like we have 5s and 1s. We don't have anything in them.
Can't make everybody happy.
Exactly. Like if we have 19 applicants, we pick one tenant, right? We're gonna get 1 5-star review and potentially 18 bad ones. That's just the nature of the world today. All right, anything else? Well, thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, and I'll be in the back if anybody wants to talk or get any of our materials.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That was amazing. Wow, super exciting. So I know we're a little bit here over, so make sure that you stay for Cindy's class after. Sorry, I gotta stop the chair for a second. And Cindy, you want to tell what your class is about?
Yeah, it's actually very timely, and thank you, Christine and Alan, for suggesting it. But I'm gonna be talking about seller concessions, well, the tricks to handle situations where a house is not moving and you've got to do something to get it off the market. So that would be seller concessions, temporary buy downs, seller carrybacks, and seller finance. A lot of good information, so please attend at 11:30.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Go back and share screen. Okay. All right, and then just always a reminder, our KW Calabasas.info website is live. So make sure you're utilizing that specifically for the calendar. So it has the calendar tabs on there. You want to say something real quick? Miss Lisa Donovan, we have open escrow.
We have 2 closings today.
Yeah.
Our concession finance, we will be partnering with Title, and so we're gonna have a nice class going on, regarding prelims, how to read, and how we eliminate any problems with that.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And thank you for doing an amazing job. And then to the agents for trusting Calabasas escrow and make sure, they're there and super attentive. So really appreciate you and Brian. So thank you. All right, and then Clearmark Title. All right, Clearmark Title is here. Okay, so I'm not gonna go. Okay, so we have The One Thing, right? You guys know the book, The One Thing? Most of you? Okay. So it's incredible. So this lovely lady, I forget her name. What's it is hard to read it, but I'll be sending it out. We just got this, but where's her name at?
Trisha Browers. Hey Steph, it's Val.
Hey Val, thank you. Do you want to
You're
go
welcome.
ahead and share a little bit of information regarding this?
Sure, I'm actually in another meeting, but I can share very briefly. So we're gonna have an event, and Trisha's a very well known. She used to give me 1 second. Sorry, sorry, Steph.
It's okay.
Go
I
ahead,
can put you on the spot, so.
I know. Yeah, so we're basically going to have this event, and it's going to be Tuesday, September 27th. That's why we're changing our schedule from 10 to 1. And she's just amazing. And she's going to teach all of us a little about just like basically the one thing. It's all based off of that. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Val. Yeah,
You're welcome.
She was in one of our Zoom with the TLs and so on and so forth. So she's a master facilitator for this particular book and goes around and does these courses. So we'll send out an email for it. So our team meeting, it's supposed to be the 27th, right, of September. So she ended up getting scheduled on the 27th. We were having team meeting, the syndication class, etc. So we are going to be pushing that to the first team meeting in October. We'll have Stephen there at that time and Paul Morris. So instead, we're going to go to SRAR on the 27th for this particular presentation. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So it's really important that that we attend. I mean, it's a great opportunity, you know, and I wanted to make sure I was being selfish. I'm like, I don't want to miss it. So this is something that we get to do, and it doesn't cost us anything, right? So it's something that Forward Living is putting on and paying for her to come in. And so that is what will be happening on the 27th. So thank you for that. We'll give you even more information. Christine has her book club, which will be, what month are we in?
September 27th, 5 o'clock. As I say, last meeting we had in the next we had about the book. I'm not sure if there's any
Oh, I see.
books, but we had the biggest show everyone we've ever had. Like we were shocked. But even if you didn't read the book, it was such a great conversation. That's my people to do it. And I'm happy to come.
Yep, for sure. It's a great book. I love this book. And then our calendar. So make sure you guys check in. We have a really robust calendar for the month of September. Want to just make sure that we, you know, continue to provide you value. One of the awesome things is most of you know Sonia Rowland. So she's a productivity coach. She's also ATL out of Hollywood Hills, and she's huge on technology. She knows the command inside and out. So she did a tech talk last week from 5 to 7 on command. She's actually going to be doing another tech talk on the 28th, right? So we'll have at the happy hour a lot of great information. I know Christine, a lot of people were there for that. She does it via Zoom. And then all she's going to do is command 101 next week. So it really gives you an opportunity to do a deep dive into our technology, because it has a lot of great tools in there for you. So please make sure that you're checking out our calendar for sure. Is there anything as we wrap up? Does anybody have any exclusive off-market listings or anything, needs, wants that they want to ask and share with all of us? Alan.
Yeah, we're gonna have this beautiful parcel in Calabasas, Baltimore, Holland. Half a mile north of the high school. 8.7 acres, with 360-degree views. It's amazing development opportunity, and it's at 3.25. The nice 60-70 grand commission, so let's get a buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve.
I have a off-market residential. I dealt with Rich about this. It's a completely beautiful home on Martha Street, west of Valley Circle, right next to El Camino High School. They want $1.5 million for it. It's like 2,300 square feet. It's immaculate, beautiful home, single story.
How much?
1.5, 1.5.
Westfield?
Woodland Hills. West of Valley, like Valley Circle. Hurricane.
Awesome. Okay. Denise.
It's actually Michelle's friend. We're working on it together. And it's a house in Encino. Do you want to tell them a little bit about it?
It's on Magnolia. It's north of the boulevard. It's 3 bedroom, 3 bath. It has a pool. It's 1.6. It's on a 8,300 square lot.
And we'd be more than happy to show it with a single party agreement.
Okay. All right, awesome. Thank you. Congratulations. Was there someone in Zoom land that wanted to share?
I had a question for the person that just shared the Woodland Hills 1.5, and I didn't know who it was.
Steve Sachs.
What?
Oh, okay. Oh, I just want to know who to reach out to. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. I have a cute rental, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. 3,200. Remodeled, second story, 20 units.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. That's it. So thank you all. And thank you for getting done. Really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing it with us. Oh my God. Thank you for having us. Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Have a fabulous day. And then make sure you come hang out with Cindy at 11:30.
Thank you.
Yes.
Like, because I'm gonna stop. So I was like, year sweatshirt, and we want to start winning them. Okay, how do we get? So. For the Calabasas, so, we have some, yeah, so have her. Been given to you, whichever type you guys want, and then. So I've been told that, so yeah, if I, you know what?